Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy, and today we're talking about sniper syndrome. And yes, just quickly, the footage is of console sniping, so no, it won't look like the stuff you can do on PC, which is just crazy sometimes. But anyway, sniper syndrome is something that I first heard Sir Demetrius talk about a year or so ago when he focused on making Destiny content. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. And ever since then, it's a concept that stayed with me. So what is sniper syndrome? Well, I'd describe it in a basic sense as being an extreme reliance upon or obsession with using a sniper rifle. If you have friends who have sniper syndrome, then get them in here and call them out in the comments below. Or if you think you have it, then feel free to confess your sins down there as well. Now, I will go into the symptoms and effects of this syndrome, but first, it seems sensible to ask whether it exists in Battlefield 1 and to what extent. Well, I've heard, and I'm sure you've heard, people say a million times that there are too many scouts. Too many scouts sitting and not helping the team. Too many scouts not getting into the action. But is this really the case? Or is it a nocebo? Well, BattlefieldTracker.com tells us that Scout, which I have highlighted in the image, is often up in the mix of being the most selected for the infantry classes. Now, it's up to you if that's too many. Some will argue that, as there's not a disproportionate amount when compared with the other three infantry classes, there's no problem. Others will say that due to its very nature, or rather the nature that many people use the class, there's no need to have that many scouts at once. Regardless of where you stand on the matter, I'd say there's clearly enough scouts for there to be the potential for a strong level of sniper syndrome. So what are some of the symptoms of sniper syndrome? Well, obviously they want to use a scout the vast majority of the time. And I'm not talking about cases such as a content creator whose main draw of an audience is sniping. I'm talking about your average player who jumps on Battlefield just to pass the time. And I'm also not saying it's necessarily a bad thing as such. People can play the game how they enjoy it. Next, I'd say there's often obviously an unwillingness to switch classes when it would be sensible to. Perhaps a team already has loads of scouts. Perhaps the map is quite close quarters. Perhaps the player just isn't hitting their snipes on this occasion. It would make sense to switch to something else, even just briefly to try to combat a certain scenario, and yet the sniper remains in their hands as if glued to their palms. After that is a more extreme symptom which can occur, which is more rare but does happen. The symptom is an unwillingness to switch to a sidearm. Now, I think you've seen and will see me use a sidearm in the background footage because there's no way I'm going to limit myself to sniper only, but some people do. They become so obsessed with their rifle that they borderline insist on using it for everything and occasionally trying to marry it. Then we have the symptom of increased ability resulting in increased obsession, i.e. the better the individual becomes at sniping, the more they do it, and the more all of their existing symptoms intensify. And finally, the symptom of communicated reinforcement, which essentially means the individual regularly talks about how good they are at sniping or how good they're going to be. This is probably the worst symptom of all and the most likely to drive others to want to wipe out sniper syndrome entirely. If you can think of more symptoms, then again, drop them in the comment section. But with the ones I can think of now having been covered, what are the effects of sniper syndrome? Well, I'd say that it's often an overall detrimental effect upon the individual's performance and that of the team they're on. The player in question fails to get a well-rounded skill set, plus they fail to adapt to situations and thus fail to capitalize on opportunities. From a team perspective, they're being dragged down by a player who potentially isn't approaching the situation in the best way that they can be. This is then obviously multiplied by how many players they currently have who have symptoms of sniper syndrome. And with all of that covered, obviously, there's a certain amount of humor involved here. It isn't entirely serious. Sometimes a sniper is needed, some scouts are excellent at what they do, and overall people can play the game how they see fit. But there is also a certain amount of truth involved. Some players really do become too obsessed with their sniper rifle, and it does impact upon their game and that of their teams. So, do you have sniper syndrome? Do your friends? And do you see players exhibiting it often? Let me know in the comment section below. Now let's quickly go over to the Board of Awesome for the fantastic people who support the channel on Patreon, allowing you to get content full-time from me. Thanks so much to everyone on here. If you want to join them on the Board of Awesome, the link to the Patreon page is in the description and in my pinned comment. Support can start from as little as $1 a month. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos, and feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I'm GetGoodGuy, and I'll see you next time. Laters.